Are you looking for true personal freedom? The freedom to design a life you truly desire? Then you're absolutely in the right place. True personal freedom comes from when you take 100% responsibility and control of your money and your mind. Here you're going to learn ideas, tips, and wisdom that's going to help you bridge the gap from where you are now to your dream life in the future. My name is Randy Wilson, and welcome to the Rich Mind Podcast. Hello, and welcome back to the Rich Mind Podcast. And today I want to share something that hopefully you'll find valuable. And this is something that has served me in my journey of investing, of building businesses, of trying to get some clarity of what's going on in the future. So hopefully this message will serve you today. And the message I want to send to you is to be cautious of people that are certain about events and about things in the future, and that they know or they feel like they know exactly how things are going to play out. And so let me back that up with a little bit of a story. So 2 years ago, actually almost exactly 2 years ago, I was at a conference, and at this conference we were having dinner. And at the dinner, we were having a discussion, just a kind of a roundtable discussion. There was probably maybe 8 or 10 of us at the table. And one of the gentlemen at the table was basically expressing certainty about the current state of the real estate market, and how at that moment he felt that there was no way that the market was ever going to turn, that anything was ever going to go bad, that it was just blue skies, blue sunny skies, and just perfection moving forward, right? He was so certain that he wouldn't even I was pushing back a little bit with the discussion, and he wouldn't even hear it. He didn't want to hear anything about it, which was interesting to me. So why I feel like that is so important in what I have done through my journey. So as I started to get out into the investment world, or even in the building business world, or trying to figure out this entrepreneurial journey, was I've fallen for the guys and gals that are certain about certain things, right? So remember that folks most of the time are trying to either sell you on a product or a service, and they have to come across as being very certain that their product or service is going to be exactly what you need to move forward in whatever goal you're trying to reach. So in that journey of myself, I've purchased things that I didn't necessarily need, because I felt that their certainty was exactly what I needed. Realizing that after the fact, that's allowed me to have some caution. So what I do, and this was the visual that I learned actually from Robert Kiyosaki. He talked about having 3 sides to a coin. So you've got heads, you've got tails, and then you've got the edge. And what I try to do when I'm trying to make a decision, or even when I'm trying to figure out what's going on, right? The state of the economy, you've got all the noise going on out there with the media. You've got folks that are certain about where they think things are headed. I try to stand on the edge, and I actually try to find both sides of the story. So I try to find folks that are certain, that are 100% certain that it's going to go one direction. And then I also try to find folks that are 100% certain that it's going the other direction, positive or negative. And I try to stay on the edge, and I try to take that input, right, from both sides, and try to then craft a thesis, I guess would be the best way to put it, of how I want to move forward. So what I'll tell you from that discussion that I had 2 years ago with this gentleman about the real estate market was that the research that I had done up prior to this conference, I was starting to see and hear about the issues that were going on in the financial market. So remember, prices, the value of money, currency. We've had discussions about currency and what money really is on the podcast in the past. And I would recommend you refer back to those episodes if you need to learn or get a refresher on the difference between money and currency, and how the value of things, whether it be real estate, whether it be cars, whether it be a lot of things in the world, is driven by the Fed, right? The Federal Reserve, and the price of money, the interest rates, the ability to borrow and put leverage onto assets is what usually drives those prices. And back then, about 2 years ago, I was realizing that we were probably going to be heading into some rough times, right? Coming out of the COVID years, 2020, 2021. And so I had a thesis that we were going to be hitting some rough waters. So in that discussion I was having with this gentleman who was certain that that was not going to happen, it was never going to end, that the real estate market was fine, the interest rates were never going to go back up, I knew in my mind that that necessarily wasn't the case. So what I did then is I took that information. That conversation happened on the very first night of the conference, which was great because it gave me plenty of time to then go find the opposite side of that story to then try to solidify my thesis, whether I felt like I was right or wrong. So what I did is I found there was a gentleman at the conference. He was actually one of the speakers, and he was what I would consider an expert in the realm of interest rates, understanding mortgage-backed securities, which that's a discussion for another day, as far as just understanding the debt and how the debt impacts the prices of real estate or assets in general. I pulled him aside. He was actually in the lobby, and I had the courage, and I just went up to him, and I basically just shared with him what I thought was trying to figure out, if the Federal Reserve began to raise interest rates, what was that going to do to these asset prices that at the time were very high, right? So whether it's residential real estate, whether it was multifamily, whether it's businesses in general, if the Federal Reserve started to tighten the interest rate, what was that going to do to these prices? And he gave me the answer that was very similar to how I felt things were going to move forward. So what I did then is I took that information and bounced it off with the certainty that I was getting from this other gentleman. And then I came up with a thesis in my mind about what I wanted to do and the action I wanted to take in my world. So with that information, I came home and made some decisions with my portfolio, actually even with my own personal residence, and made some moves based on that. Now, I will say in hindsight, I did okay, right? I made some good decisions. But the point that I'm trying to make for you in this episode today is I sought out both sides of the argument. I wanted to find someone that was certain, like that everything was positive, everything was fantastic. But then I also wanted to find somebody that was a little bit more pessimistic, a little bit more thinking a little bit more cautiously, and taking both pieces of those information to then craft a decision that was going to be best for me and my family moving forward. So we'll then fast forward to even today. I will tell you that no one knows what's going to happen 6 months. We are in June as of this recording, 2023. And no one knows what's going to happen 6 months from now, a year from now, 18 months from now. I don't know. And those folks that are out there that are certain that it's going to be a certain way, one way or the other, I would argue that that may not be the case. Now, parts of it may be, but I would venture to say from my experience that part of it, if not most of it, will be incorrect. So my expression to you then is to then find out what pieces, both sides of that story, and find out the folks that are certain that it's going to continue to go up, the market's going to go up or down, vice versa, right? And then find the other side of that story. So if the market continues to, so there's some turmoil in the market today. People are uncertain, people are unsure, not sure if prices are going to continue to rise, if the Federal Reserve is going to continue to raise rates. So what I will tell you though is that what now I'm looking for is the certainty that it's never going to get better, right? So now I'm starting to look for the other side, the flip side of that coin of, it's never going to get worse from this point, right? It's only going to continue to get worse, I should say. And when I start hearing conversations like that, that will tell me that we are more than likely on the verge of a turnaround, right? So when everybody is negative and the sentiment is more on the negative side, that's when you can start thinking about being optimistic in your own personal pursuits. And that's served me very well going forward. So think about it with the three-sided coin, right? Or three sides to a coin, heads, the tails, and the edge. And do your best to stay on the edge and look for certainty, or be cautious when folks are certain of a particular direction of anything, whether it's a market, whether it's your own personal life, right? If somebody is certain that you should do something, question that and go out and get your answer based on other information from other folks. It might be third parties. Obviously, you can do some research online, but it can be other friends and family, and try to get a rebuttal to that certainty to just make sure that it fits with who you are and where you want to move forward. So once again, hopefully that serves you today. Be cautious of certainty. And when you find certainty, find the flip side. When you find the flip side, you'll be able to make better decisions moving forward. Have a fantastic day. We'll talk very soon. Bye now. Thank you for joining me on the Rich Mind Podcast. I hope you found a ton of value in this episode. If so, I'd really appreciate a 5-star review, and you can also share it with your family and friends. And as my mentor Jim Rohn shared with me, in order to have more, you must first become more. And in order to become more, you must work harder on yourself than you do on your job. So go out there today and work harder on yourself to become more and build the life of your dreams. Until next time, my friends.